person. I'm feeling quite sick and under the weather. I'm going to try my best to bring as much energy as I can into this presentation. So we're going to talk about career counseling. In our work as counselors, we often do career counseling for our clients. However, sometimes we need some career counseling as well. And we're going to talk about money. I think money is a really important conversation and can be a very hush-hush topic within our profession and, as people of color, etc. We're going to talk about our identity as well as how can we sustain ourselves professionally. My name is Chioma Ofodile. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Chioma Ofodile. I'm a mental health counselor by profession, as most of us are in this room, and I'm very excited to have this conversation. Okay, so why are we having this conversation? Why does this conversation matter? As counselors, we went to school for most of us for 2 years, and we're trained extensively in cognitive behavior therapy and psychodynamic, etc. But we were never taught any classes about money or any business related classes. I'm curious by putting your hands up. Did any of you take any classes related to business in any way? Oh, okay. I see one hand up. We love to see it. We love to see it. For the majority of us, that was not the case. And I think this is such an important conversation to talk about career strategy, negotiating salaries, etc. In this field, we go into the field because we want to help people, because we care about the well-being of our clients, because we recognize, especially as people of color, the fact and the reality that there aren't as many clinicians that look like us doing the work that we're doing. And so we're very much necessary and key components to the well-being of those that come from the same population as us. And oftentimes our clients would request wanting to work with people who have the same lived life experiences. And so we come in with a very unique and important value to this field. And as clinicians, especially clinicians of color, there's sometimes that emphasis to serve and sometimes to serve at our own detriment and to the detriment of our well-being. And long term, realistically, that simply isn't sustainable. We need fair compensation, and in order to be able to do this career long term. So, as counselors, the work that we do is very intertwined with our identity. And most of us in this room are women. And when it comes to conversations around money, that also shapes how we interact with money, how we see our worth, how we charge, how we advocate for ourselves, how we navigate feelings of maybe guilt or shame surrounding money, how we hold boundaries with our clients and or with the agencies that we work for. And for a lot of us, especially people of color, it can feel emotionally charged when it comes to charging for our labor, because again, we're going in with the intention of wanting to serve our community. And sometimes our community doesn't always have the resources financially to pay for services. And it's important for us to really talk about the well-being of clinicians, because when we're good as clinicians, our communities are also able to thrive. Please put your hands up if you've heard and or seen any of these messages when it comes to the helping profession. So I'm going to read it out loud, and if any of it resonates, feel free to put your hand up. I can't see the room as much as I would like to see, but I'm going to try my best. Helping professionals shouldn't care about money. Service means self-sacrifice. Charging more is greedy. People would think you don't care if you raise your rates. You should be grateful to have a job. Have any of you heard and or felt any of these things? Okay, thank you. So I see a good chunk of hands going up. Since the reason why I put up this slide is it's important for us to understand our money narrative, our money story, the stories that shape how we interact with money and how that shapes, our professional work. And oftentimes this then leads to being overworked, avoiding negotiation, again, by putting your hands up with the current position that you have. Did you negotiate your salary or did you accept the salary that was initially provided? So if you negotiated your salary or tried to negotiate your salary at least, can you please put your hands up? Okay, we love to see it. Okay, snap, 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 snap. I'm really, really glad and I'm excited to see that a good chunk of people put their hands up. And if you didn't, I really urge you to push yourself to sit with the discomfort that can come with negotiating salary. The more that we ask for better pay, because we're oftentimes overworked and underpaid for the work that we do, the better services that we can offer to people, and the more, the system around underpaid clinicians who have not just an undergraduate degree, but also a master's degree. We should not be paid the amount that we're often paid, even as an LP or as a licensed clinician. And so I want to emphasize that your money story is not a personal flaw. It's inherited conditioning with multiple layers. As people of color, there is that complexity. There's the gender aspect. For some people, there's the sexuality aspect. There's so many layers that comes to really making sure that you're being paid equitably for the work that you do. Okay, so let's talk about the reality of what it means to be a therapist. For a lot of us, it looks like having two internships in grad school, and not being paid for internships. I was very surprised to learn when I was in grad school about what internships in the STEM field look like. Specifically, I'm thinking of engineering. And oftentimes the default is that they're paid for their internship. And it's often a matter of how high are you paid as opposed to are you paid at all? Whereas in our field, we're expected to do the work that professional therapists do during our internship time. Yes, we're learning. Yes, we're making mistakes. Yes, we're growing. And we're expected to do 20 hours of internship a week while doing school full time. And for many of us, we're also supporting ourselves and working multiple jobs in addition to school, etc. Again, by a show of hands in the room, how many of you worked while not just one job, but at least two jobs while you were either in undergrad or in grad school or post-grad school? I see a lot of hands. I see a lot of hands. Again, this is not sustainable, and this is a real concern in the work that we do. And we're told that it is what it is. You just deal with it. You just get through it. And that should not be the norm. And I really want to emphasize and empower all of us to question these norms, to question these narratives that aim to keep us burnt out and not being able to sustain our well-being. So oftentimes it can look like working at agencies that has a high caseload, high emotional labor, and low compensation in comparison to how much work we're doing. Again, that pressure to care at the expense of our well-being, For us, if some positions, if you're paid hourly, oftentimes you're paid for seeing clients, but not paid for the administrative work that you do in addition to seeing clients, such as sending emails, follow up with parents, and all the paperwork that comes with being a therapist, etc. And so with how the system is right now, it often leads to many really qualified, passionate clinicians who come into the profession wanting to really serve and serve their communities, especially people of color. But long term, financially ends up not being sustainable for a lot of us. I didn't even include here licensure, all the costs to acquire licensure, to maintain licensure, etc. Okay. And so why does money matter? For the word money can have a lot of connotations and associations with it. Money is not debty. Money is capacity. Money is options. Money is power. As Money allows us to take care of ourselves as clinicians. It allows us to not be burnt out and be able to afford practices of self-care, to provide better quality care because our basic needs are being met and we're not juggling working two, three jobs to make ends meet, but being able to, and not, overly spreading ourselves thin. It allows us to build programs on a systematic level. I want to bring the gender aspect of things again into this. Statistically speaking, when women are empowered financially, they tend to pour more into their communities and support their communities. And most of the people in this room are women. And so it's really, really important that we associate money for the possibilities and the options that it can offer us. There's often conversations about gentrification, and money is needed to buy back the block, for example. We can have, in terms of systematic change, money can be a helpful tool in maintaining systematic change. It helps us stay in the field long term, which also helps our clients as well, because we're going to have more clinicians of color staying in the field. Um, and I also know, again, thinking about people of color, someone who's an immigrant myself, there's also that expectation to not just support yourself, but to also support your parents, to support the family that you may be creating if you decide to have a family or if you have a family of your own. But also sometimes to support family even back home as well. So that also comes with additional layers as it relates to being people of color. And the Black tax and the idea of the Black tax. So your fee does not reflect your goodness, your morals, or your worth as a person. It reflects your training that, some people are years in debt for when it comes to paying back student loans, the labor. And I really want to emphasize that the work that we do as clinicians is very valuable, very important. And I really want us to leave this presentation feeling empowered by the work that we do, and to not undermine, to not belittle it in any way, regardless of what, though it might not be seen as valuable as certain fields such as STEM fields are typically more compensated than our field is. I hope that that does not lead to dismissing or belittling the important work that we do. Your fee covers your emotional energy. It can be exhausting being a therapist. It's not the easiest thing to listen to a variety of different life experiences and the different hardships that different people have experienced. It shows your expertise, the risk, boundaries, and just being able to sustain yourself in this field. And so I want to talk about alternative or additional careers that counselors can consider that are oftentimes underutilized, that can be very valuable. So this can look like program development, clinical leadership, so working in different organizations, consulting, giving feedback, speaking engagements, the set of skills that we have of being able to talk to any and everyone and to really have understanding and access to what it means to be human, being able to, have a variety of different clients with a variety of different life experiences and be able to navigate and help problem solve and increase people's quality of life with the different theories that were taught is a very, very valuable skill that can be intersected in a variety of different ways. And even if you don't end up doing any of these things on this list, I want you to just think for yourself in relation to being a therapist, how can I utilize the specific skills that are unique to counselors? And what are other ways that it can be useful in other areas to impact change? And the work that we do, we impact change typically one-on-one. And there are also other ways that we can impact change systematically. So I really urge you to think about that of based on the skill sets that being a therapist offers me, how can I use that to impact change on a systematic level? And in a way that would allow you to be compensated fairly as well, in addition to doing the work that we do in counseling. So, what are ways that we can sustain our careers? I have a couple more slides, and then I have some practice that I want us to do to kind of implement some of the things that we discussed today. To reflect on auditing your caseload. So, what are some clients that maybe you feel drained by, that maybe you notice yourself getting bored in session? What are some sessions that you feel energized in? What are some topic areas? How can you maybe get some certifications in those, learn more about those, and maybe make those a niche for you? How can you to discuss communicating boundaries clearly and confidently with agencies? We often talk about setting boundaries with clients, and it's important to also set boundaries with different agencies that you're working at as well. And I urge you to set one boundary this week. This can look like no work after hours or not doing any notes after hours. I know this is not always realistic or sustainable when it comes to not doing notes after hours. But that can be an example of something to consider. And to do a monthly money check-in. What did I earn? What felt difficult as it relates to money financially? What improved? To really normalize having conversations about money and sharing negotiation strategies. I'm very open to discussing. Personally, if you meet me, I think financial literacy, again, is a very important life skill to have. And self-advocacy is also another really important life skill. And then when you combine that when it relates to negotiation, it's really, really, really important for that to be the norm, that we do not accept what is offered to us. And that we let the agencies, that we work at know maybe perhaps the reason for leaving if money is part of that. Okay, so now we're going to move into the activities. I cannot hear anyone, but we're going to do pair up with somebody. So with one person in the room, And I want you to discuss with them what are some early messages that you received about work and money? How did these messages influence your career choices? What narratives no longer fit the clinician that you're becoming, because who we are at the start of our work as clinicians in the middle of our career, it looks different over time. So who you are from day one versus a year into counseling versus 2 years in, that evolves. And what is one new narrative that you'd like to practice? So you can share with someone and then we can regroup. Okay, so now we're going to do even more reflection. If it's not obvious, I'm one of those therapists that give homework. I am a homework therapist. So I want us to do even further reflection on what are some of your professional non-negotiables as it relates to being in the counseling field. The work that we do is very, very important, but it can also be exhausting if we're, saying things for what they are. It's not the easiest job to have. And then that combined with oftentimes we're not compensated fairly. What are some things that you need to keep up the work that you're doing? What are some things that you need to feel stable? Is it financial? Is it otherwise? What workload? Do you notice that if you see 5 clients a day, you feel great, but if you see maybe 6 or 7, it feels like it's too much? Or are you good at 3 clients a day? What keeps you feeling clear and regulated? What boundaries do you want to set to kind of protect your well-being? And what compensation do you feel like reflects your expertise? And whatever number you choose, I want to really push you to again reflect on what are the life experiences that have shaped the number that you chose. How does gender play a role? How does race play a role? How does ethnicity play a role? Social economic status, etc. Again, this is something that I would like to be discussed in the group, and then we can have a couple people share and wrap up our presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna hand out, this is great because I have cute little cue cards here that we can really write down and keep ourselves accountable in that way. I'm gonna start handing them out. Some folks have it already on the table, so feel free to grab them.
So write down 3 non-negotiables that you want to honor in the next 90 days. 3 things that you want to really hold yourself accountable for. And at least one of them has to be related to your financial well-being as a clinician. Yeah. And then this is just a closing reflection, and we can wrap up. But we're not going to share this. It's just kind of like keep in mind for yourself. What beliefs about your worth needs updating? What boundary will strengthen you this month? And what is one sustainable shift you can make in your career? Our field needs clinicians who are grounded, who are compensated fairly, and in order for us to be sustained in the work that we're doing. So thank you all for your time, for your engagement. My name is Chioma Ofodile. You can follow me on my socials at Chioma Learns. And I look forward to connecting with you all in person when I'm not sick in the next few months to come. Thank you so much.